Hi everyone, I'm Calais Goord and welcome to Babcock Hoops. We've got a very special episode for you today. With the NBA regular season officially in the books and the playoffs getting underway, it's the perfect time to look ahead. Yep, it's mock draft time. Joining us today is someone who needs no introduction, longtime NBA draft analyst, Krysten Peek, and of course, we've got our very own Matt Babcock here as well. Here's how this is going to work. We've simulated the NBA draft lottery, and Krysten and Matt will alternate picks, stepping into the shoes of each team's general manager. They'll explain their selections and walk us through the reasoning behind each move. You ready? Let's get started. All right, the Charlotte Hornets have landed the number one pick in our simulated lottery. Krysten, you're on the clock. Who are you taking?
I mean, it's going to be Cooper Flagg. I know he has not officially declared for the draft yet, and there were the teases during the season that he could and want to return to Duke. That's not going to happen. He's going to be the number one pick. It doesn't matter who's getting it on draft lottery night. He's going to be the golden goose. And for Charlotte, he's someone that can be an instant impact player. He is only the fourth freshman in all college hoops history to win AP Player of the Year. I was there with his parents at the press conference. He has exceeded all expectations. And you have to remember, he reclassified. So he's actually one of the younger players in this draft. And there's nothing that NBA teams love more than youth, length, upside, and versatility. Cooper Flagg has all of that. He was the player of the year, and he just got better and better. And so he's going to be the number one pick.
Amazing. We love that. Well, Matt, are there any surprises here or pretty much what you expected?
No surprises at all. And Krysten knows this as well as anybody. From the moment he reclassified in high school, everybody expected him to be the number one pick, and went to Duke and, really probably exceeded expectations, even though they were so high. And regardless if it's Charlotte or anybody else, I think the full expectation is that Cooper Flagg will be the number one pick.
Amazing. Well, let's get to number two. So it's Utah Jazz. They just missed out on Cooper Flagg, but they're still in a position to land a franchise-changing player. Matt, take it away. Who are you taking?
Sure. With the number two pick, I have the Utah Jazz taking VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. And here's my thought process here. This was a little tricky. I mean, I was considering Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, along with VJ Edgecombe. And, I think one big deciding factor for me was the emergence of Isaiah Collier later in the season this year, who's an on-ball guard. And I think they're really excited about him long term. And with Dylan Harper, I think he's probably penciled in as the number two prospect, across the board. I don't like the fit with Isaiah and Dylan too much. Dylan's a jumbo size on-ball creator. I think there might be too many cooks in the kitchen with that offense, hypothetically. And with VJ Edgecombe, I've got a lot of confidence in him. I think he's a guy that has a good chance of maximizing his potential, and the potential is sky high. I mean, he is a premier athlete. He sort of reminds me of a young Russell Westbrook, if you will. Not really a traditional two guard or point guard, but extremely dynamic. And opposed to Dylan Harper, I think he can be effective on and off the ball. So I really like the fit there. I think in this day and age, star players aren't playing as many minutes as they were in years past. And so the combination of Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, another young guard, and VJ, I think long-term, if it all clicked for the three of them, could be a three-headed monster in their backcourt. And so my pick is VJ Edgecombe from Baylor.
Amazing. Well, back to you, Krysten. The Wizards are on the clock at number 3. What direction are you going?
I mean, getting spicy early, Matt. Taking VJ number 2, and Dylan has been the number 2 prospect the entire year. I kind of like it. I love VJ. He's one of those players who, went from unranked to a 5-star McDonald's All-American in the matter of 10 months. And so his ceiling is very high. And I guess at number 3, I mean, I'm a very firm believer in best prospect available. You're taking Dylan Harper. I don't care what your roster construction is. You guys have the number 3 pick because you're one of the worst teams in the NBA. So when you're looking at best available, Dylan Harper is the best prospect available. What he did at Rutgers this year, especially early in the season, I know they didn't make the NCAA tournament, but what he did as a freshman with virtually no help. And I was at the tournament where he had back-to-back 30 point plus gains. And I think, and with 50 plus scouts there over the tournament over Thanksgiving week, I think he solidified himself as a top 2, I guess now top 3 draft pick. I mean, this is a guy who averaged nearly 20 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and he's such a dynamic guard. And I think he proved this year that he can play on and off the ball. But I get it. Like, if you're the Jazz, it is kind of, you're duplicating what you already have in Isaiah Collier, maybe a little bit in Keontae George, but it doesn't matter. Dylan Harper is the next best available prospect, and you just make it work in a draft like this.
Well, it looks like we've got some friendly competition here. So back to you, Matt. You're up for Toronto as our 4th pick. Who makes sense here?
Yeah, so with Toronto, I'm going to take the same approach as Krysten did with the 3rd pick. Is I'm taking best available. And one thing I would disagree with what you said was that Dylan didn't have any help. I thought Ace Bailey was terrific this year.
Correct.
In flashes. And, going back to the 2nd pick where I had them take a VJ Edgecombe, I think it's pretty close with this top tier of guys, the top 4. But Ace Bailey, to me, is clearly the next best prospect. I do still have some questions with him that he needs to address long-term to maximize his potential. But, I mean, this is a 6'9", 6'10", dynamic shooter, tough shot maker that possesses some raw talent that only superstar players have. And so the upside is really high, similar to what Krysten said about Dylan with a developing team. Sometimes it's a situation where you don't need to overanalyze. And so that's what I'm doing here with Toronto, is taking the top talent, and that's Ace Bailey from Rutgers.
Great. Well, back to you, Krysten. We've got the Pelicans at number 5. Who are you adding to that roster?
Pelicans making move. They just switched GMs. And so there's a lot of different changes that are happening in their front office. And I think if they're at number 5, I'm going Jeremiah Fears. This is a player who at one point early on in the season led the entire country in assists. And he was so dynamic in the way he can pick apart a pick and roll defense. And we saw that in the NCAA tournament. This is another player who reclassified up. He's, I think, the toughest guard in this class. I mean, just a quick story. I called one of his games for NBA TV. One of the games, he split open the top of his eye, had a black eye, had to go and get stitches the very next day. I thought he was going to be on the bench. Nope, he decided to play. He played against Mount Verde, against Cooper Flagg, and that team that won the national title. He played with one eye, and he still dished out 6 assists, had 15 points. He is so tough, and the fact that he's still so young, he's one of the youngest guards in this draft class. He's kind of giving off Trae Young energy. And so for the Pelicans that are looking for a fresh start, what do? You bring in a dynamic guard like that, and you hope that you can grow him in your system and have him be the franchise point guard.
Amazing. You see, resilience is what makes this game for sure. So at number 6, very fitting, we have the Sixers. Matt, what's your move?
Well, first of all, Krysten just screwed up a bunch of my picks moving forward. I love Jeremiah Fears. I was in the Bahamas watching him in the Battle for Atlantis, and agree with everything you said. Just a tough kid. Supposed to be a senior in high school right now, and he taking him number 5, I don't think is a reach. And so I was really happy to hear you pick him. With the 76ers, they're in an interesting turning point as a franchise. They've got a ton of money committed to Joel Embiid and Paul George, both aging stars that, Joel's injury stuff is not great. And they do have some young talent, Tyrese Maxey, specifically Jared McCain had a really great rookie year before getting hurt. So with this pick, I'm going to go with some upside at the big man spot. Derik Queen from Maryland. This is a guy who had a terrific freshman year, played at Montverde Academy with Cooper Flagg and their team filled with a bunch of NBA prospects. But stepped in at Maryland, was really dynamic. He's a big-bodied, 4'5", 5'4", sort of like an Al Jefferson type, but more skilled. This kid can put it on the floor. He's shown flashes, be able to shoot the ball. And I think if it really clicks, he's the kind of guy that can be an offensive engine as a big man, which is unique. And so the upside's high, but I also think he's ready to play right away too. So this gives him somebody in the short term to provide some depth, especially with the uncertainty of Joel Embiid's availability, and also a long-term building block whether you pencil him in as a 5 or a 4. So my pick in number 6 is Derik Queen from Maryland.
Okay, we're getting down to number 7. So, Krysten, back to you. Brooklyn's number 7. Who's the pick?
Brooklyn Nets. Well, I will say this, Derik Queen, I did not have it on my NBA draft bingo card back in August that Derik Queen would lose 26 pounds and be one of the best bigs in all of college basketball. So I love I just love his progression this season, and he's very deserving of a top 10 pick. Okay, at number 7, Brooklyn Nets, they completely imploded. They're in the rebuild process. And they've got 4 or 5 picks in this draft. I don't know if they're going to keep them, but if number 7 is the first pick that they get, again, I am a firm believer in best available prospect, and that is Trey Johnson, the freshman out of Texas. He is a bucket getter, and he's got great positional size. At one point, he was leading the SEC in scoring. And I saw the power struggles earlier this year where I went before the season even started and the team wasn't really accepting him as like the guy, the number one option in the offense. And then a month later, I went back and they were like, okay, if we want to win games, this guy has to get touches. And so for Trey Johnson at number 7, I think there's a lot of value in that. Even if, there's another team that wants to trade up and maybe get Trey. Again, I'm a firm believer in best available prospect, and Trey Johnson and his body of work and what he did at Texas this year and what his offensive projection as an NBA player is, I'm taking him at number 7.
Great. Well, at number 8, Matt, we have the Spurs. What are you thinking for San Antonio?
Well, truth be told, this is where I wanted Jeremiah Fears. I think Jeremiah would be great at San Antonio, but KP decided to take him ahead of me. So that's just how it goes. So I got to regroup. And with San Antonio, I think anything that they're going to discuss internally, it all starts with Wemby. I mean, he's the future. Obviously, had the health issues this year. Hopefully that all gets cleared up. And the long-term plans are around Wemby, who's I think probably going to be one of the best players in the league for a long, long time. And then obviously the emergence of their first-round pick last year, Stephon Castle, who's really sort of a do-it-all perimeter player. I mean, is he a 2, 1, 3, whatever you want? And same with Wemby, who's a giant, but he's really sort of a positionless guy, and I think gives them a lot of flexibility where they go moving forward. I was tempted with Knueppel here as a glue guy shooter from Duke. However, I am not going with Knueppel. I'm going to go with some upside. Another guy from Montverde Academy. Some people might be thinking I'm playing favorites here, but I'm going with Asa Newell from Georgia, who I've been really high on for years since he was in high school, and I think he's really just scratching the surface on his potential. This is a guy that's 6'10", 6'11", still needs to add a lot of physical strength and weight and functional weight, but he's a guy that's very mobile, very coordinated and skilled. He's shown flashes to be able to shoot the ball a little bit. I think if it were to click with him in the next 2-3 years, could be a great kind of running mate with Wemby as sort of a versatile big in this modern NBA. So my pick at number 8 for San Antonio is Asa Newell from Georgia.
Well, you took a turn of direction there, Matt. So let's go back to Krysten. Number 9 is the Rockets. Who's heading to Houston?
I mean, the Rockets, I feel like they're finally figuring it out. I mean, they've really kind of drafted from the ground up. We've seen Amen Thompson really kind of come into his own this season, and Jalen Green, of course, is there. And they have a ton of guard play. So for the Rockets inside the top 10, I'm thinking, rim protection. And I'm looking at Khaman Maluach. And listen, I understand. I know in the Final Four game, this is a 7'2" center, and he didn't have a single rebound. But also he was dealing with maybe deportation issues. I don't know where all that stands. But when we're looking at upside and we're looking at size and what he presents as a rim protector, I think there is a lot of value in that. And he also has showed a little bit of pick and pop potential at Duke this year. And he's still very young and very raw, so he's going to need some time to develop. But when we're looking at desirable centers outside of Derik Queen, who I think will be the first one off the board, Khaman Maluach, the Duke center from South Sudan, is kind of the one that I think, as you look towards the back half of the lottery and you start looking for team need instead of best available, Khaman is someone that I think will come off the board inside the top 10.
Amazing. And so as we finish the top 10, Matt, Portland holds the 10th pick. Who do you like for them?
I like Portland's young core. I mean, I think they're still in a very developmental phase of their, this timeline with this core unit. But I mean, Anthony Simon, Shaedon Sharpe, I think Scoot Henderson still has a lot of potential to tap into. And then Donovan Cleveland last year I think they're going to be their center for a long time. So here I'm going, with a safer pick, Knueppel from Duke, who I think really fits that group. He's a guy that's a terrific sniper shooter. But provides toughness, really knows how to play. And the thing I like about him the most in this spot is he's a guy I think can, serve a lot of value without being ball dominant. Let the guys around him be who they are, but really make a contribution without being a ball stopper. And I think it's hard to find guys that are able to play these complementary roles, but have the potential of being a very high level complementary player. And I think Knueppel is just that. So I'm going with Knueppel for the Portland Trailblazers.
Well, we're getting down to the last few now. So at number 11, which is my lucky number, the heater on the clock. Krysten, who's the best fit here?
That was my college number 2. I wore number 11 for 4 years. Okay, so we're looking at the Miami Heat, and you could go one or two ways, right? This is an established team. Historically, they like more seasoned players. So you could go, I'm very big on Nique Clifford from CSU, but I am going to go with Jase Richardson, the oldest son of Jason Richardson, who had a phenomenal year at Michigan State. His family lives in Miami. His younger brother, Jax Richardson, just won a national championship with the Boozer twins at Columbus High School. And what Jase possesses as a 6'2", 6'3" guard, the fact that at certain times in the Michigan State offense, he was playing the 3 and was still finding ways to impact the game. I think he was Big Ten Freshman of the Year. There were definitely multiple games during the season where he was the best prospect on the court, and he slowly worked his way up. And he's someone that is declared for the draft. He's not keeping his college eligibility, and so he'll be someone that teams will want to get into for workouts, and we'll see him at the combine. But 12 points, 4 rebounds per game at Michigan State. Someone earlier on in the season that we didn't know what his rotational minutes would be, and he just exceeded all those expectations. And he is someone that is a winner. He found ways to win at the high school level. He's so tough. Obviously, he has that NBA pedigree. So I could see the Miami Heat just taking a chance on him, bringing in a younger guard, and having him grow within that system under Spo.
I totally agree. And we're back to you, Matt. Dallas is on the board at number 12. Who should they add?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, there's been a lot of turmoil in Dallas after the Luka trade. Yeah, a little bit. And I'm not a fan of the fire of Nico stuff. I think it's a tough spot. But they need to move forward, and they've got a lottery pick coming. And the guy I'm having them take is certainly not going to supplement what Luka did in the near future. However, long term, I do think he possesses a lot of upside. And this is Egor Demin from BYU. An international playmaker that's 6'9", and he's had an interesting year. To start the year, I was intrigued by him. Didn't know him that well. I'd only watched him on film. So my first trip of the year, season opener, I was in Provo to watch them, and he was unbelievable. 6'9" playmaker. I mean, felt like I was watching like a Russian Magic Johnson, and I fully jumped on the bandwagon. And that first month, I mean, I was one of the guys, pushing him as a potential top 5 pick. He got hurt, really struggled there early in January, and we all slipped back. And so, I mean, I think I jumped the gun. I'm putting him so high, but now I think he's become somewhat of a polarizing prospect because he's being compared to how those early ratings were being done. But I'm not losing sight that this is a 6'9" natural playmaker. I mean, he's one of the best passers I've ever seen. And I think some of his issues that kind of contribute to his struggles this year are lack of strength, inconsistent outside shooting. And I think he's going to be able to address both things. And the other thing, too, is they're playing him as a primary point guard. I think he's more of a point forward long term. And so I think with Dallas, they need some young talent long term. And I think Egor is a guy. He does need to address a few things, but the upside is very significant. So my pick is Egor Demin.
Okay, now down to the last two. So number 13, the Bulls are up. Krysten, who's the call?
I mean, I already mentioned his name. I am a big believer in Nique Clifford. And I'll tell you what, there's always that player, that older 4-year, 5-year player that we see drafted that is an instant impact player. And what Nique Clifford did for Colorado State, CSU had to win out in the Mountain West tournament in order to make the NCAA tournament. And they did that on the back of Nique Clifford. He is a walking triple-double threat. What he did in the last game, they won a tournament game. They made it to the second round, and he had 21 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. So at any given night, he is impacting the floor in multiple ways. And great positional size at 6'6", 6'7". He told me that the reason why he decided to return to CSU for another year after he tested the NBA waters last year is the feedback he received. He said he needed to get stronger with the ball and just stronger physically. And so that's all he did. He worked on his ball handling. He was in the gym all summer long. And this was just business, strictly business this year. And he really, really helped himself. And I do think that there are going to be teams higher than people think that are going to target Nique Clifford because of what he can do immediately and come in with a secondary unit and impact a team immediately instead of having to, wait a season or two and see what they're going to do to develop into the franchise.
Giving us all insights there. Thanks for that. Okay, and closing out number 14, we've got the Atlanta Hawks. Matt, bring us home.
Yeah, so I'm tempted here to take a guard to provide the Hawks with some backcourt depth. Kasparis Yakachionis from Illinois comes to mind. Nolan Traore from France. I'm going to take a swing here. I'm going to go and probably surprise some people. I'm going to take young big man Joan Beringer, who's currently playing for Olympia. This kid, I think his upside is through the roof. He's only been playing basketball for a couple of years, but I have, foresee this guy developing into being a monster, versatile big man in the next few years. Just the physical tools, the mobility is. He's got a motor that doesn't stop. And I actually heard an interesting story that he grew up playing soccer and he was a goalie, in that he approaches rebounding and playing defense similar as a soccer goalie. And that's just one little nugget here, but I'm really excited about him, and I think he's somewhat of a hidden gem. So to round it out here, I'm going with Joan Beringer.
Well, thank you guys. And that wraps up the 2025 NBA Mock Draft Lottery Special. Big thanks to Krysten Peek for joining us and bringing us her insights to the table. And of course, thanks to Matt Babcock for breaking it all down. For full draft coverage, player evaluations, and more, head over to babcockhoops.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because draft season is just getting started. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Babcock Hoops.